So my original idea for this particular story was completely different. I'm just gonna have to rant for a second, but the first thing I want to bring to your attention is if you'd like to help support my fight against the ATF, you can purchase this High Alert patch. What this particular patch does is in your peripheral vision, you'll see a flashing yellow light if there's something dangerous looking at you in the general direction or nearby. Let me do a demonstration real quick. Oh, can I touch your leg hair? You can get that patch at shoponlytacticalfans.com. Otherwise, you can purchase a Freedom Star beanie. Everybody pretty much knows what this beanie stands for. If you don't, just wait till the end of the video and I'll explain it. So back to this article. So I'm going to start off by playing a little clip right here.
It's like, are we informing the public? And basically what the ATF said is that law-abiding citizens aren't buying Glock switches. These are getting into the hands of the criminals that they're seeing on the streets, and they're now taking them off of criminals weekly in this area from that standpoint. So they wanted to get the word out.
So essentially what you're saying is you called the ATF and they told you what I'm going to trial for today, facing 75 years, is not illegal? What? Let's compare real quick. Let's go through it. 1. You called the ATF before you hit record on the camera. I called the ATF before I hit record on the camera to make sure I wasn't running afoul of the law. It was way back in the beginning when I was first going to advertise for Auto Keycard. I had heard about the idea. I called the ATF. Number 2, you gave instructions where people can get this. Let's play the clip.
They're cheap, they're pretty inexpensive, about $20 online if you can purchase it online. But the big concern they are now having is that there are all kinds of instructions on the internet where people are making them on 3D printers, printing them off, and then adding them to their guns on the street.
I gave instructions where people could get it. Let's play the clip. AutoKeycard.com. 3, you informed people that producing these is illegal. I informed people that producing these is illegal. Let's play the clips.
The device is in the palm of my hand right there. I'm holding it, and it's called a Glock switch. Once again, these things are illegal, as you can see them refiring. It's about 10 years if you get caught with one of those in federal prison, federal time from that standpoint.
What this is a novelty. So when someone sees it, they're like, hey, what is this? You explain to them that because laws are so ridiculous and so out of control, if I were to cut on these lines, I would become a felon. How ridiculous is that? And it's just a conversation starter. But if you were an SOT like me, and you were legally allowed to, or you qualified for option number 6, and you cut along these lines and put it together, I could register this as a machine gun, drop it in my rifle, do testing, demonstration, pull it out, and to the best of my knowledge, I still got to talk to my ATF specialist for the NFA, but to the best of my knowledge, I could do testing with, say, this firearm, pull this out, and now I would only have to destroy this. I don't have to destroy my lower receiver. No damage done to it. This is still a transferable firearm, again, to the best of my knowledge. And this is the only machine gun. Now that I got my rant over, if you don't get indicted, like, shortly here for doing the exact same thing I did, I'm gonna lose my shit. This is ridiculous. And I can't believe the ATF said today that what I'm being on trial for today is totally legal. Alright, so now let's start talking about the problems with these particular generalizations and why this is wrong. The big one, the one that's completely glaring, is the 14th Amendment, Section 1. Any protections given to an American citizen, military, police, reporters, anything like that, must be equally protected among all American citizens that are born in the States. Here, I'll play the 14th Amendment, Section 1 for you so you can get it and realize what kind of hypocrisy we're talking about here.
All persons born or naturalized in the United States, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property, without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws.
Or the fastest thing that I've shot military or on the civilian side, and I've been in a couple different police departments, a couple different government agencies. It's very, very fast. I mean,
Number two, like the whole point of your video is that these are so incredibly dangerous that people shouldn't be allowed them on the street.
Park, the playground, you got a mother. So imagine how dangerous these are to the community.
and if I were to shoot this one-handed, this group is all over the place.
Unless, of course, you send the ATF $500 and get your SOT. Well, then it's totally legal. Then, now all of a sudden, because you paid an extra $500 for this switch, it's no longer dangerous? So are we saying that a Glock switch that has $500 more attached to it is less dangerous than a Glock switch that doesn't, which we all know is completely false? Or are we saying that a guy is buying a first-class citizen right for $500, and people that don't pay the $500 are second-class citizens that don't get to enjoy all the freedoms, like, I don't know, maybe the Second Amendment? So that's all it costs to enjoy all your freedoms of the Second Amendment is $500. You have to buy the Second Amendment is what we're talking about here. That, or you have to go and be a cop. So a cop is somehow safer, or the switch itself is somehow safer when a cop owns it, but he took it from somebody. Then they got charged 10 years in a federal palm-me-in-the-ass prison and $250,000 fine for missing a $200 tax. Which, how is that not cruel and unusual punishment? But okay, so the cop seizes this switch from a person because it's so dangerous, and now because it's in his hands, it's suddenly safe? Are you seeing where I'm going with this? Or how about an 18-year-old kid in the military? His switch is somehow safe unless he's caught with it off of base. And because that switch had moved from on base to off of base, even though it's in possession of the same exact person, it's no longer safe? That's just ridiculous, and it makes absolutely no logical sense. How are you guys not seeing this? And when I say you guys, I'm specifically referring to the FUD that is in this particular video. It's their fault that we're in this in the first place. That guy is probably an SOT. I'm assuming it because he's got ATF and that's showing up at his range shooting guns, so therefore he can manufacture all the machine guns he wants, because that's usually where the cops and the ATF like to hang out, is at SOT places, because they have ranges that can handle machine gun fire. So he's saying that he is somehow safer than every other person in America that hasn't paid the $500, and he's okay with this.
Shooting guns like this, you know, and they have a switch on them. Now, if I'm aiming at the cameraman here and I start, and all of a sudden I lose my control of the gun, it pans across the crowd and hits buildings and people and innocent people.
He gets the full Second Amendment privileges, but everyone else, no, they don't, because it's just so dangerous. They can just arbitrarily mow down a bunch of kids at a playground.
The hell out of the way. That they're out there, they're dangerous, you know, that the city and the community needs to be careful. And if you see someone with a gun or know someone has a Glock switch, do yourself a favor and call Crime Stoppers or call the police or call whatever district you live in to let them know that these are out there, because you could be an unintended victim.
Oh my God, it just makes me so angry when people talk out of one side of their mouth and then talk out of the other side of their mouth. Yeah, Second Amendment shall not be infringed, cold dead hands. Machine guns aren't safe for everyone. Yeah, I could handle a machine gun just fine. I don't know about my neighbors. You know, what if my neighbors can't handle it? What, you don't think your neighbor's saying the exact same thing about you? They're like, oh yeah, I could handle any gun I want. I'm a safe, responsible person. But that neighbor over there, he's not, you know, out of my cold dead hands. But, you know, we should really restrict what he has, because I just don't like the music he listens to. And the music he listens to inspires fear in me. And that's the whole problem with all of this. It's just fear-mongering that's being used to prosecute Americans on a daily basis. Look at 2018. Every single day, this amount of people are being prosecuted, put in prison, incarcerated, having their property stripped away from them every single day. For what? We're not talking about crimes, because if you shoot somebody with a gun, well, that's murder. That's got its own crime attached to it. You steal somebody's gun, that's theft. It's got its own crime attached to it. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever why there should be a crime that has the word gun in it all by itself. That is a victimless crime. And we're talking about 10 years in prison. A victimless crime like jaywalking. At most, it should be a fine. And remember, this crime is because you failed to pay a $200 tax. That's it. You didn't go and kill a bunch of people. You didn't steal a bunch of shit. You failed to pay the government $200. And you're charged $250,000 in 10 years in a federal pounding-ass prison? How does that not violate the 8th Amendment of cruel and unusual punishment? Just going to bring it down a notch here. I'm getting a little worked up. Sorry about that. Anyway, if you'd like to help support my fight against the ATF, this is my symbol for doing it. Now, the point behind this symbol is the day I got arrested, they strip you naked when you go into prison. They took off my wedding ring, my chain, my hat, and then when they released me like 4 hours away, which just so happened to be like, so here's where I was held in prison, here's where I was released, and here's where I lived. And it was still over an hour trip one way, so it was a 2-hour trip. Got released from prison, started catching my breath, getting on the phone with the lawyers, figuring out everything that was going on. Then a couple of days later, I got a letter I had to be in Florida, and because I have a family, I can't just do the cannonball straight on through in one day. It takes me about a week to get down there and about a week to get back because I have a family. I can't just do the cannonball. We stop at hotels, stuff like that. Anyway, by the time I got down to Florida and got back and then tried to retrieve my stuff, I found out that, well, you only have 30 days to retrieve your stuff from prison, otherwise it's considered abandoned. So I lost my wedding ring, my chain, and my Cowboys hat, which was insanely sentimental to me. I've had that thing for years. I've done dedicated videos on it explaining how sentimental it is to me. Crazy sentimental. Anyway, my girl felt really bad for me, and the most beautiful gesture ever, she ordered me a new cowboy hat, which is this one right here, which they failed to embroider the cowboy logo on it. Like, I don't know, your only job and you can't do it properly? Like, come on. Anyway, she wanted to send it back and get one with a Cowboys hat logo embroidered on it. I'm like, babe, no, because that particular Cowboys hat had the sentimental value. I don't care about the Cowboys. Yeah, the cheerleaders are pretty freaking hot, but the Cowboys themselves, that's not a big deal. So buying a new hat, it doesn't really do anything. Plus now there's a whole bunch of bad memories attached to it because I had a bunch of dudes stick machine guns in my face and haul me off to prison. So let me just go get my own logo embroidered. Besides, I want to change it a little bit to symbolize what had happened to me. And that's the whole point with the star being upside down, because the ATF came into my life and flipped it upside down. And this isn't a lightning bolt through it, it's a scar. Because you guys, with all your support, are helping me heal from all this. And that's the star coming back together and healing. So it's upside down because the ATF flipped my life upside down. It's got a mark through it because it's a scar. It would be shattered in half and I'd be totally screwed, but your guys' support has helped me push along. And that's the whole point behind it. This isn't whatever you might think it is. It's the Dallas Cowboys logo flipped upside down, broken in half, but now it's starting to heal back together. And this is going to have a bunch of new memories on it. This is going to symbolize after my fight with the ATF about me just kicking their ass in court, and I will win. Yeah, a jury is a wild card, you never know, but come on. Just recently, the ATF already said what I did wasn't illegal, so we'll be going on from there. Anywho, I appreciate you guys supporting me and supporting the channel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.